I still remember the exact shade of burgundy on my nails that night. I had spent an hour getting them done at the cheap salon 2 blocks from my apartment, convincing myself that this time would be different. That maybe, just maybe, Ryan would look at me the way he looked at the other girls in our friend group. The restaurant was one of those trendy places in downtown Manhattan where the lighting is deliberately dim and the menu doesn't list prices. I arrived 15 minutes early, which I always did, and sat at the bar nursing a glass of water while I watched couples lean into each other over candlelit tables. My dress was new, a deep emerald green that the sales associate promised brought out my eyes. I had paired it with heels that were already making my feet ache, but I told myself beauty was pain, right? Ryan walked in with the entire crew. Jake, Madison, Connor, and Sophia. They moved like a unit, laughing at some inside joke I wasn't part of yet. I waved from my spot at the bar, and Ryan's eyes passed over me like I was part of the furniture before Madison pointed me out. We got a table near the window. I ended up squeezed between Connor and the wall, which meant I had to lean forward awkwardly to participate in conversations. Madison was telling some story about her recent trip to the Hamptons, her perfectly straightened blonde hair catching the light every time she moved. I tried to contribute, mentioning how I had always wanted to visit, but my voice got lost under Jake's booming laugh about something completely different. The food came. Expensive small plates that looked like art. I had ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, a pasta dish that cost $32 and came in a portion size that wouldn't satisfy a child. Ryan was across from me, but he spent most of dinner turned toward Sophia, who had somehow managed to look effortlessly beautiful in just jeans and a silk camisole. I watched him watch her. The way his eyes would linger when she laughed. The way he would lean in when she spoke, like her words were secrets meant only for him. I pushed my pasta around my plate and told myself I was being paranoid. We were all just friends. That's what Ryan had said when he invited me. Just friends hanging out. Dessert arrived, this elaborate chocolate thing that everyone shared. Madison was talking about her gym routine, and somehow the conversation shifted to appearances. Who was dating whom? Who had gotten work done? The usual shallow territory our group loved to explore. That's when Connor, who had been mostly quiet all night, suddenly turned to me with this weird grin. He had clearly had too much wine. His face was flushed, and his words came out slightly slurred. You know what I appreciate about you? He said it loud enough that everyone stopped talking. The whole table turned to look at us. My heart jumped. Maybe this was it. Maybe someone finally saw me. Connor put his arm around my shoulder, pulling me into an awkward side hug that smelled like red wine and expensive cologne. You're not like these other girls who are all about looks. You've got something way more important. I felt my face get hot. Everyone was staring. Ryan was watching with this unreadable expression. Connor raised his glass like he was making a toast. She has a nice personality, right? The table went quiet for just a second. Just long enough for me to feel the weight of what he had just said. The implication hanging in the air between us like smoke. Madison giggled nervously. Sophia looked down at her phone. Jake cleared his throat and tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. I could see it in their faces. The pity. The agreement. The confirmation that I was the one they kept around because I was nice, not because I belonged. Ryan finally spoke, but he didn't defend me. He just laughed, this uncomfortable chuckle, and said, Connor, you're drunk, man. But he didn't disagree. He didn't say I was beautiful. He didn't say Connor was wrong. I felt something crack inside my chest. It wasn't dramatic. No tears. No scene. Just this quiet breaking, like ice splintering under weight. I replied with the only thing I could manage. I smiled, even though it felt like my face might shatter. Yeah, I said quietly. Just a personality. That's me. I excused myself to the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror under those harsh fluorescent lights that showed every flaw, every imperfection, every reason why Connor had said what he said. And I made a decision right there, staring at my reflection with mascara starting to smudge under my eyes. I was done being the nice one. The personality. The girl they kept around to make themselves feel better. I walked back to that table, grabbed my purse, and left $40 on my seat. And I never looked back. The subway ride home felt like the longest 20 minutes of my life. I sat in that rattling car still wearing my expensive dress and painful heels, surrounded by late-night commuters who couldn't care less about my humiliation. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my purse. Madison asking where I went. Ryan sending a question mark. Connor with a laughing emoji like the whole thing had been some joke I was supposed to be in on. I turned my phone off. My apartment in Queens was a studio that cost too much and offered too little. I threw my heels across the room the second I walked in, hearing one of them hit the wall with a satisfying thud. The dress came off next, replaced by old sweatpants and a college t-shirt that had holes in it. This was the real me. Not the girl trying to fit into their world. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment over and over. She has a nice personality, right? The way everyone had looked at me. The pity. The agreement. Ryan's face, not defending me, just laughing it off like my feelings didn't matter. By 3 a.m, I was sitting on my floor with my laptop open, rage scrolling through everyone's social media. There was Madison at some rooftop bar, her life a highlight reel of perfection. Sophia's feed was all aesthetic shots and sponsored posts from beauty brands. And Ryan. Ryan, whose profile was full of him with gorgeous girls at parties I was never invited to. I closed the laptop and looked at myself in the black screen's reflection. Plain. Average. Forgettable. That's what they saw when they looked at me. Monday morning at work was worse. I was an assistant at a mid-sized marketing firm, the kind of job where you do all the work and someone else takes all the credit. My boss, Patricia, barely acknowledged my existence most days. I was invisible there too. During my lunch break, I sat alone in the break room eating a sad sandwich when I overheard 2 of the junior executives talking in the hallway. One of them was talking about a girl he had gone on a date with, describing her as a butterface. His friend laughed, and they both walked away. Butterface. Nice personality. Same thing. Different words for the same cruel reality. I threw my sandwich away even though I had only eaten half. My stomach was twisted in knots anyway. That evening, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror with scissors in my hand. My hair was long, boring, the same style I had worn since high school. I grabbed a section and cut. Then another. And another. The strands fell into the sink like pieces of my old self, the girl who waited for boys like Ryan to notice her, who accepted crumbs of attention from people who didn't value her. When I was done, my hair was uneven and chaotic, but I didn't care. It felt like rebellion. Like I was finally doing something for me. The next morning, I walked into a real salon. Not the cheap place with the flickering lights, but one of those upscale spots in Midtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and stylists who wore all black like they were artists. The woman who greeted me had platinum haircut in a sharp bob and looked at my butchered haircut with something between horror and fascination. "What happened here?" she asked, running her fingers through what was left. I said. "Can you fix it?" Her name was Veronica, and she studied my face for a long moment before nodding. "I can do better than fix it. I can make you dangerous." Something about that word lit a fire in my chest. Dangerous. I had never been dangerous in my life. I had been nice. Safe. Forgettable. 3 hours later, I walked out with a sleek asymmetrical cut that framed my face in ways I didn't know were possible. Veronica had also convinced me to try a deep auburn color that made my eyes look brighter, fiercer. I caught my reflection in a store window and almost didn't recognize myself. But hair wasn't enough. I knew that. So I did something I had never done before. I hired a personal trainer. His name was Marcus, and he worked out of a small gym in Brooklyn that smelled like sweat and determination. He was brutally honest during our first session. "You want to change?" he asked while I struggled through my 5th push-up. "Then you have to want it more than you want comfort. More than you want people to like you. You have to want it for you." I thought about Connor's words. Ryan's silence. Every time someone had overlooked me, underestimated me, reduced me to just a personality. "I want it," I told Marcus. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. I woke up at 5:30 every morning to train before work. My muscles screamed. My body ached in places I didn't know could ache. But slowly, things started to shift. My clothes fit differently. My posture changed. I started walking into rooms like I belonged there. At work, I stopped accepting Patricia's dismissive treatment. When she tried to take credit for my campaign idea during a meeting, I spoke up. "Actually, Patricia, that was my strategy. I can walk everyone through the analytics if you'd like." The room went silent. Patricia's face turned red, but the senior partner, Mr. Chin, nodded at me with something like respect. "If you're watching this and you've ever felt invisible, like you were just taking up space in someone else's story, I want you to know something. Your transformation starts the moment you decide you're done settling. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready to see how this story ends, because trust me, the best part is just beginning." I stopped checking my phone for messages from Ryan. Stopped caring what Madison posted. Stopped shrinking myself to fit into spaces that were never meant for me. I was becoming someone new. Someone who didn't need their validation. 3 months after that dinner, I was a different person. Not just physically, though Marcus had transformed my body into something strong and capable. It was deeper than that. I moved through the world differently. I spoke up in meetings. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped being sorry for existing. Patricia eventually left the company after Mr. Chin discovered she had been claiming my work as her own for over a year. He called me into his office one afternoon and offered me her position. Junior Marketing Director. A title. A real salary. An office with my name on the door. I accepted without hesitation. My social media, which I had abandoned for months, started getting strange notifications. Friend requests from people I barely knew. Messages from old acquaintances suddenly interested in getting coffee. And then, one Tuesday evening while I was meal prepping in my apartment, my phone lit up with a name I had deleted but still recognized. Ryan. "Hey stranger. Long time. Want to grab drinks this week?" I stared at the message for a long moment. 6 months ago, I would have said yes immediately. Would have dropped everything, worn the dress, done my makeup, hoped that maybe this time he would see me. But that girl was gone. I left him on read. 2 days later, I was at a networking event for my company. One of those corporate things with overpriced wine and forced conversations. I was talking to a potential client when I heard a familiar laugh across the room. I turned, and there he was. Ryan. With Connor and Jake, all of them in suits, clearly there for business. Our eyes met across the room. His face registered shock, then confusion, then something else. Something I had wanted to see for so long but didn't need anymore. Interest. Attraction. Regret. He made his way over, weaving through the crowd like he had some right to my time. I watched him approach, remembering every moment I had felt small around him. "I almost didn't recognize you," he said, his eyes scanning me up and down in a way that would have thrilled me before. "You look incredible. What happened?" I said, echoing the words I had told Veronica months ago. "I stopped waiting for people like you to notice me." His smile faltered. Look, about that night at dinner. Connor was drunk. We all felt bad about how it went down. You felt bad, I repeated, letting the words hang between us. But not bad enough to text me. Not bad enough to check if I was okay. You felt bad enough to let 6 months pass and then reach out when I looked different. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Come on, don't be like that. I'm trying to apologize here. I'm not interested in your apology, Ryan. I'm not interested in drinks or catching up or whatever game you think you're playing right now. He looked genuinely surprised, like he had never considered that I might not want him anymore. That's when Connor appeared beside him, drink in hand, that same arrogant smirk on his face. No way. Is that really you? Connor's eyes went wide with exaggerated shock. What did you do, win the lottery and buy a whole new person? Something in me snapped. Not with anger, but with absolute clarity. I turned to face both of them fully, my voice steady and calm in a way that made them both lean back slightly. You want to know what I did, Connor? I stopped giving people like you power over how I see myself. That night at dinner, when you said I just had a nice personality, you thought you were putting me in my place. Reminding me that I wasn't good enough for this group. For him. I gestured toward Ryan, who had gone pale. But you did me the biggest favor of my life. You showed me exactly who you all were. Shallow. Cruel. Small people who build themselves up by tearing others down. And I realized I had been shrinking myself, dimming my light, just to make you comfortable. Ryan tried to interrupt. That's not fair, we never meant to. Yes, you did, I cut him off. You absolutely meant to. And the worst part is, I let you. I let you make me feel invisible. But I'm not invisible anymore, and I didn't change for you or because of you. I changed for me. A small crowd had started to form around us, other attendees sensing drama. I didn't care. I had spent too many years caring what people thought. Connor's smirk had disappeared completely. Look, if we hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, okay? It was just a joke. My feelings aren't hurt, Connor. They're just not available to you anymore. Neither is my time, my energy, or my presence. You wanted a girl with just a personality? Well, that personality grew a spine, got a promotion, and learned that she's worth a hell of a lot more than a table full of people who couldn't see her value. I picked up my wine glass and took a sip, letting the silence stretch. Ryan looked like he wanted to say something, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. I hope you both have a good life. I really do. But it won't include me in any capacity. I turned and walked away, my heels clicking confidently on the marble floor. Behind me, I heard Connor mutter something to Ryan, but I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. That chapter was closed. Mr. Chen caught up with me near the exit. That was handled beautifully, he said with an approving nod. Reminds me why I promoted you. You've got fire. I smiled. It had been there all along. I just had to stop letting other people extinguish it. 2 years later, I stood in my corner office on the 23rd floor of our new building in Manhattan, looking out over the city that had once made me feel so small. I was now the senior marketing director, leading a team of 12 people who actually respected my ideas and valued my input. Marcus and I still trained together 3 times a week, though now it was more about friendship than transformation. He had been at my promotion party, telling everyone who would listen that he knew I had it in me from day one. My dating life had changed too, but not in the way I expected. I had gone on dates with men who were objectively attractive, successful, interesting. But I learned something crucial: I didn't need a relationship to feel complete. The validation I had desperately sought from Ryan, I now gave myself. And when I did meet someone, it would be because they added to my life, not because they completed it. Last week, I ran into Madison at a coffee shop in Soho. She looked the same, still perfectly put together, but there was something tired in her eyes. We made awkward small talk, and then she said something that surprised me. I saw what you said to Ryan at that event 2 years ago. Someone recorded it and it went kind of viral in our circle. She paused, stirring her latte slowly. I wish I had your courage back then. I'm still trying to find mine. We all have it, Madison. We just have to stop being afraid to use it. She nodded, and for a moment, I saw past the perfect exterior to the person underneath. Maybe we weren't so different after all. Maybe we had all been performing for each other, terrified of being seen as less than. I heard through mutual friends that Ryan got engaged to someone from his firm. I felt nothing when I heard the news. Not satisfaction, not sadness, just a peaceful indifference that told me I had truly moved on. My apartment in Queens was long gone. I had moved to a beautiful one-bedroom in the West Village with exposed brick and enough closet space for the wardrobe I had built for myself. Not to impress anyone, but because I finally understood that investing in myself wasn't vanity. It was self-respect. Every morning, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I was proud of. Not because of how I looked, though I did feel beautiful now in ways that had nothing to do with Ryan or Connor's approval. But because I had done the hard work of rebuilding myself from the inside out. Thank you for watching this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the person at the table who felt invisible, please hit that like button. Leave a comment telling me about your own transformation or what you're working toward. Subscribe to this channel because I share stories like this every week, stories about people who decided they were worth more than the boxes others tried to put them in. Your personality isn't a consolation prize. It's your superpower. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. The moment you realize that, you become dangerous.